The Nazis committed so many horrible atrocities during World War II that it is impossible to list them all here, but some of their most heinous acts were committed in secret. During World War II, the Nazis systematically murdered approximately 6 million European Jews, as well as millions of other people who they deemed undesirable. This included people of Jewish descent, as well as Roma and Sinti people, gay men, people with disabilities, and political opponents. The Nazis believed that these people were inferior and that they were a threat to the German way of life. They were banned from public life and were forced to live in ghettos. They also persecuted and murdered people for other reasons, such as their sexuality, their religion, or their political beliefs. Gay men were sent to concentration camps, where they were tortured and murdered. Jehovah's Witnesses were persecuted because they refused to participate in the war effort, and political opponents of the Nazi regime, such as the Social Democrats and the Communists, were also targeted. The Nazis also began to deport Jews to concentration camps, where they were murdered. During the war, the Nazis murdered approximately 6 million European Jews. This included 3.5 million Polish Jews, 2.5 million Soviet Jews, as well as Jews from Germany, Austria, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and elsewhere. They wanted to create a master race of Aryans, and they believed that the only way to do this was to get rid of everyone who was different. As the war drew to a close and the Allies advanced on Germany from all sides, the Nazi leadership became increasingly desperate. They murdered approximately 500,000 people with disabilities. They also murdered approximately 250,000 Roma and Sinti people. They knew that they were losing the war and that their time in power was coming to an end. And so they began to take out their frustrations on the very people who had given them so much power in the first place, the German people. One of the most well-known crimes of the Nazi regime is the Holocaust. The Holocaust was carried out in a number of ways, including through the use of gas chambers, firing squads, and concentration camps. The Nazis also used propaganda to spread their hateful message and to dehumanize the people they were targeting. One of the most infamous pieces of propaganda is a poster that shows a Jewish man with the caption, "The Parasite." This poster was used to spread anti-messages and to encourage people to report their Jewish neighbors. The Nazis also created a special police force to carry out their dirty work. These were the Einsatzgruppen, and they traveled around the country carrying out mass executions. Another infamous crime of the Nazi regime was the Night of Broken Glass, or This was a night of violence against Jews throughout Germany and Austria. On November 9th and 10th, 1938, Nazi paramilitary groups attacked Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues. They also killed hundreds of Jews and injured many more. Kristallnacht was a turning point in the history of Holocaust because it marked the beginning of the war against the Jews. After the Nazis began to implement a policy of exclusion, which aimed to isolate Jews from German society. As the war drew to a close, the Nazis became increasingly desperate, and they began to target anyone who was different in an attempt to create a master race of Aryans. The crimes of the Nazi regime were truly horrific, and they serve as a reminder of the dangers of racism, intolerance, and hatred. It is important to remember the victims of the Nazi regime and to learn from the mistakes of the past so that we can create a better future.